Do you ever just have a moment where you need a little inspiration and a little time outside, but you're stuck inside?
There is a lot of BS going on in the world right now, and I don't know about you, but I kind of just need to unplug and do something that's unrelated for a few minutes. So, if that is also where you're at, we're going to make a flower crown today out of some synthetic flowers that I picked up at the local hobby shop. I'll probably wear it at like a Ren fair or something. Not sure, I might just wear it to make myself smile for the next week. We'll see. But if you're interested in doing a flower hair wreath with me, stay tuned. Let's get to work.
Okay, so it's a high pain day, which means we're going to stick around with doing all of this in bed. First thing I'm going to need to do is twist some floral wire together. I did a different style hair wreath for Yuletide a couple years ago. So if you're curious about that, I'll put a link in the description as well as above, so you can check that out. But this one's going to kind of stand on its own. So I'm going to twist some wire to make that form, because I don't need any of this catching my hair. I'm then going to cover it with some linen. This is probably way more than I need, but have at it. There we go. I have an assortment of tissue paper flowers from the hobby store. They had their spring flowers on clearance. And to stitch this linen down, I have thimble, scissors, needle, and some green thread. So let's start getting some wire twisted. Right about now, you are probably sitting on your end of that computer screen going, but Meredith, you're only doing one layer of that wire. How is that going to keep any shape at all? And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. This isn't the first one of these hair floral wreath things that I've ever made. I made several of them about 10 years ago. And what I learned is that if I use too many layers of wire initially before I start covering it with fabric, it's going to be too rigid, and then I can't bend it to shape my head and figure out the sizing nearly as easily. So my next step that I love to do after I've shaped my wire is actually going to be to go through and cover it with some fabric. I'm treating this almost like making a fascinator rather than doing a random arts and crafts project with a bunch of hot glue. That's just my preference. I found that they tend to be a little more durable for me in case it gets knocked off my head at an event, or just knowing me, I go running amok and I haven't secured it very well into my hair, and then it goes flying as well. To cover this, I'm just taking the raw edges, folding them in, and then doing probably a whip stitch would be my best guess, to try and make sure that the raw edges stay inside and they're going to be secured without it risking ripping or catching on any poking bits of the wire. It also helps keep those wire joints out of my hair. Rather than trying to sew this entirely by hand, you could also just make a tube of fabric on your sewing machine, turn it right side out to encase those raw edges, and then feed the wire through it and rejoin those edges and overlap the fabric, I suppose. I just thought that turning something this narrow would honestly be way more work than sewing it by hand. As you can see, it's still pretty flimsy from this first go round, and that's simply because we are about to start building this up with the floral wire itself. All of these paper flowers are on some sort of a wire, and we're going to use that wire to strengthen the hair wreath. So we're going to start wrapping that around the base and artistically fussing with this until not only does it feel secure, but it's aesthetically pleasing. Twisting and untwisting these leaves, trying to find the exact perfect layout for them for my personal wants and needs was actually really soothing on this high pain day. I I really wanted to get up and do something, but I was in too much pain to get up and do something because of the swelling in my leg. If you've ever had a mobility issue, you might be aware of something similar to this. Before this year, I think I intellectually understood it, but I didn't physically understand it. It's a very different thing. So, giving my brain something else to focus on helped me to manage some of that pain, as well as just giving me something fun to do because I couldn't really walk around as much as I wanted to. I was just kind of stuck in bed in my pajamas. Have you found any hacks like this yourself when you're sick or when you're not feeling well that kind of help you to move past that? Tell me and everybody else in the community about it down in the comments section. I'm sure we'd all love to hear about each other's small ways we work to try and feel better. If you're also finding it really soothing to just kind of play with paper flowers and try to find the perfect layout for your own flower wreath, or feel inspired to make something on your own, please do hit that like button. It's going to help this video get shared out to more people who might be wanting to take on the project themselves. With my design, I eventually decide there is going to be a distinct up and a distinct down. The down being the portion of the crown that's going to sit at the bottom of my, the top of my neck, the bottom of my skull, just where the skull curves out. That's going to be mostly foliage and lacking some flowers so that it can kind of rest right in there. And once I figured that out, it became a lot easier to center the flowers towards the top and the front, and then start twisting the branches around to get them into roughly the place I wanted them so that I could do a little fussing with the leaves to fill out spaces that might have holes, and just kind of figure out, hey, do I need more? Do I need less? But having a focal point and a known void was super helpful in trying to figure out this design for me. And if you lose flowers and you're going to be sewing this together, or if you lose leaves, save them, put them off to the side. You can always tack them down into any of your little open spaces. That will help make your headband look that much fuller and more beautiful. With the basic design and layout down and the first couple layers of flowers, it's time to start wrapping more of these around. I just start doing layers upon layers once I find a pattern and a method I like. Eventually, in addition to having there be a back and a front, there also kind of became a top and a bottom. The bottom being more wire based with a couple of leaves, and that's going to sit directly into my hair without a bunch of foliage getting stuck in my hair or preventing the crown from sitting the way I want it to. With the crown all situated and my flowers and my leaves right where I want them to be with the right number and density, I'm going to go back over this a couple of times, doing fairly large basting stitches or whip stitches, depending on what the particular junction needed. And that's going to be with double threaded thread. I waxed it with beeswax. I really wanted to try and prevent this from snapping as much as I could. I suppose you could also use button thread, but I just used regular sewing thread and it was fine. Keep in mind, the more you sew this together now, the more secure it's going to be down the road, and the better it's going to survive packing to go to events or photo shoots or the fair, whatever you're going to take this headband to. I also recommend a thimble. I know not everybody likes them, but for this project and other millinery projects, I've discovered it's super helpful to have that thimble on my finger to be able to force the needle back and forth around the wires or canvas or whatever else I might be working on. So if you have the ability to, definitely pick up that thimble and give it a go. I'd hate for you guys to wear your fingers out trying to stitch through all those layers and around a wire when there's a really great tool out there for that. Once I was done securing things, I just buried my threads in there and snipped my needle off. And there we have it. We've got a beautiful flower crown to kind of get me some more inspiration to work on other projects, and it really helped me to kind of figure out what I needed to work on, or at least work on something so that I could start working on other projects. I hope you've enjoyed. If you've watched this far, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more shenanigans, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.